Happy New Year. It's new look. Who dis? On Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having yourselves a fantastic morning this morning, and I am so excited to be here hanging out with you inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Cafe Kubal coming to you all throughout Central and Upstate New York. A lot of great stuff when it comes to Cafe Kubal, when it comes to, of course, going there and grabbing their chais, which are my favorite, all their different types of coffees, their teas. You can get anything hot or iced, which is fantastic. Plus, you can get your travel mugs from them, your thermoses, as well as all of those bags of coffee. Grab one for you, grab one for somebody you love. So many incredible things. And of course, all of their desserts and their sandwiches and their breakfast sandwiches. Cafe Kubal, just an incredible place for you to go to grab your food and go. It is local, and it's so much better than any of that chain stuff that you've been getting. So make sure you get out to Cafe Kubal today and enjoy some Cafe Kubal. I appreciate them so very much. On 3501 James Street, as well as 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse. And of course, you can find them inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse. And you can find them on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse, New York at Sweetheart Corners. And you can find them out on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. So a lot of great stuff and a lot of great ways to connect with local with Cafe Kubal. So much appreciation, many thanks for all that they do. You can see that Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora has a new look in the new year. So on the bottom here, we have our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's Facebook, boom, Twitter, bang, Instagram. So Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, the Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. Of course, Mon Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factories. What's Poppin' is there for you, and what's poppin' is the list of topics and guests for the day. We're going to start off the new year with our first show of 2022 with two of my favorite people, and that is Mr. Tim Lester, who is the head coach with the Western Michigan Broncos, and DeAndre Smith, who is the running backs coach of Texas Tech. We got Tim and D coming off of bowl victories, and I'm very excited for this. Western Michigan winning in the Quick Lane Bowl, and Texas Tech winning in the Liberty Bowl. So a lot of great stuff coming up with these two gents in just a little bit here. We're going to have Tim join the show in just a few minutes, and then DeAndre will join at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. So a lot of great stuff coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. And we will obviously get to talk a little bit about bowl season in general and the craziness. This past week of bowl games was just really intense, a lot of fun, games coming down to the wire, comeback games and whatnot. So I've been very pleased with bowl season. You know, last week Papa Joe and I went over 23 bowl games, and he had gotten 10 of those right. I had gotten 13 of those games correct in our prognostication when we gave our thoughts and our predictions on all 43 bowl games. And so that was really awesome and a lot of fun to do, and then to kind of see how we were doing at that point, 23 games in. And then after that, it only got better. I mean, these past few days of bowl games have been tremendous. And of course, the College Football Playoff has gone to their semis, so now we know who's going to be playing the national championship game. Big surprise, it's SEC versus SEC. So kind of interesting, but we'll get into it here as we move forward on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. We're going to take a quick step aside for a fast break, and when we come back, we'll be here with our first guest of 2022, and that is Mr. Tim Lester, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. We're so happy that you're here with us this morning and every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So let's hop right into it here right after the fast break with Tim Lester, our first guest of 2022.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Proud to be here with you inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and we're expecting Tim Lester here. We were expecting him at 9:15 a.m. Eastern Time. He's going to be coming out of a meeting here in just a few, so he'll be joining us in about 10 minutes or so just to give everybody an update, and totally understand that completely. So we look forward to talking with him very, very soon, where sports meets that thing called life here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And what this time has allotted us to do is have an opportunity to talk about bowl season in general, like I was just talking about the college football playoff and whatnot. So this gives me an opportunity to reach out into that world and speak on what's going on in the bowl season in and of itself. So I'm good with that, and we're going to start things there, which I'm excited about because I wanted to get to this at some point today, and I'm happy we get to start off the show with it. So some really good games that went on here recently, and as I'm looking through the schedule here to see Clemson get to a 10-win season, shout out to Clemson for that. Here's the thing that's crazy. Clemson goes into the bowl game 9-3. And, there's some people out there, freaking out. Oh, my gosh, Clemson had a terrible season. They're not that good this year. Wow, they're so down. What are we going to do? How are we going to live? And I'm sitting here going, Syracuse's best season in the last 20 years was 10-3. So it's just it's crazy to me to see the fact that, the juxtaposition of 10-3 is a bad year for Clemson, but it's Syracuse's best year in 2 decades. Kind of paints the picture of where two programs are at, but shout out to Clemson for being 10-3. South Carolina, North Carolina. Wow, has North Carolina fallen off the map? Started off the season ranked in the nation's top 25, and since then they have only just spiraled downward. Mac Brown here in this season, Mac Brown's return to North Carolina was immediately positive, which is a good thing and a trying thing, because you see something like that happen and you say, okay, that's fantastic for Mac Brown. Look at how much success he has with a team as like a 2 or 3 win team under Larry Fedora, and Mac Brown comes in and has immediate success. So now you're thinking to yourself, wow, He had a winning season. They went to a bowl game. They won a bowl game. So now it's only going to go up from here. Then they went up from there, and instead of winning 7 games, they won 8 games. But this past season, they have a losing record. Not by much. They lost. They were 6-6. They lost in the bowl game. So they're 6-7. So it's not terrible. It's not horrible. But some people look at this and say, well, he went down. He went to 3 bowl games in 3 years since he came back to North Carolina. But they did not do what people thought they would do, which is vie for an ACC championship. Pitt ended up representing the Coastal and ultimately winning their first ever ACC championship. And North Carolina just floundered here, and they lost by 17 in the Duke's Mayo Bowl in Charlotte, inside of where the ACC championship game is played at Bank of America Stadium, which was doubly as kind of, there was the anticipation that people thought they would get there. I thought they would get there. A bunch of the media thought they would get there in our preseason poll. And then they get to the stadium, but they're not playing in the ACC championship. But they are playing in a bowl game, but then they lose the bowl game. So kind of smarts there a little bit. Purdue and Tennessee, fantastic game. Went to overtime at the Music City Bowl in Nashville, Tennessee, back on December 30th. 48-45, Purdue ends up getting the best of Tennessee. Wow, has Tennessee done some good things here. And who's Tennessee's head coach? Josh Heupel. We're not talking about that Josh Heupel man when he was at UCF and the fact that he helped guide the team to an undefeated season after they lost their entire coaching staff when Scott Frost left. And I told you it was unheard of and dang near almost impossible to do, and that I would never even anticipate a team doing that in any sport anywhere around the world. But they did it. To me, Josh Heupel had shown something at UCF, and he was poached like so many coaches from the American Athletic when people want to say the American Athletic isn't as good as the Power 5, yet the Power 5 tries to get better by taking their coaches, so that literally makes no factual sense when you're like, well, they're not as good, however, we need their coaches to be better. Well, Josh Heupel's got Tennessee relevant, and they went back and forth with Purdue in this game, and this was a really good game. And hats off to both of these teams. It just made it interesting. More than one game in these last few days where we have seen teams, maybe one team looks like they got it, and then another team just finds a way to come back into the matchup and make things so interesting. And this is one of those games where you look at it and you say, okay, you go back and you look at the tail of the game. Tennessee was up 21-7 in this game at the end of the first quarter. A lot of scoring, 4 touchdowns between the two teams. And then we go into the second quarter, and Purdue takes the lead 23-21. So they score in the second quarter. They score 16 unanswered points to take the lead. And then it's 31-30 Tennessee in the third quarter, and then this game then Purdue takes the lead at the toward the tail end of the fourth quarter, 38-31. Then Tennessee ties it. Then Purdue takes the lead again. Then Tennessee ties it, and then Purdue wins in overtime. So what a great game, showing how Tennessee took a big advantage in the first quarter. Then Purdue has a bunch of unanswered points. Then it stays within 1 point in the third quarter, and then it's back in fourth. This was a true bout between two teams that were obviously evenly matched. So shout out to this bowl pairing and how it worked out for Tennessee and Purdue in the Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl. That really was just a great game all the way down to the end. So Wisconsin and Arizona State. Wisconsin was up and had gotten a double digits first. Arizona State looked kind of quiet. Then they made it a game, but were not able to finish anything out here. Wisconsin was able to win. Wake Forest had no problem with Rutgers, the fill-in team for Texas A&M. When Texas A&M left said that they were not going to play in the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl due to the fact that this COVID pandemic and whatnot. So Rutgers was the team that was chosen to fill in, and Rutgers just did not do well at all. Wake Forest handled them very well. I think the Texas A&M game would have been interesting to really show where Wake Forest was at as the team that was leading the ACC for a bunch of this season before losing to Pittsburgh in the ACC championship game after representing the Atlantic division Wake Forest did with Dave Clawson. So, the question of where are they? Could they stack up with the SEC? How could they go toe-to-toe with Jimbo Fisher, somebody who Dave Clawson's used to coaching against, as Jimbo was at Florida State, and they were both in the Atlantic Division of the ACC together. So how would that work out? It was going to be a good pairing, in my opinion, to kind of showcase ACC versus SEC. Where's Wake Forest at? Can they hang with a team that beat Alabama in Jimbo Fisher? What does it mean to the matchup that these two coaches know each other, having played up against each other in the same division in the ACC? But we didn't get to see that. We saw Rutgers, and Rutgers got manhandled in this one. They lost by 4 touchdowns. And then the Arizona Bowl and the Tony the Tiger Bowl, the 2 bowl games supposed to be played on December 31st besides the Gator Bowl, and one of them gets canceled, the other one goes on, and here's the irony, is that Central Michigan was supposed to be in the canceled one in the Arizona Bowl, and they end up playing in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl to fill in. So they were they were connected to both bowl games here on December 31st besides the Gator Bowl. They get put into the one with Washington State, and they defeat them by 3. So Central Michigan, the Chippewas, looking awesome coming out of the MAC, giving some action here and making it happen in this game. Shout out to them. The Outback Bowl, Penn State, another team falling out of favor. The Big Ten had a lot of representation in big bowl games, and in this Outback Bowl on January 1st, Penn State lost by 2 touchdowns to Arkansas, a team that has shown that they got some fight in them now, and they have some relevancy in them now, which I'm excited to see. So good stuff coming from this game for sure, and really definitely appreciate seeing this game. I appreciate the fact that Arkansas is relevant in the SEC, which has now got Auburn, Arkansas, Alabama, Georgia, Florida will get back eventually, Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas A&M, LSU will be back up here. So, I mean, you're talking about the majority of the SEC a threat. And, that's huge. And then speaking about the majority of the SEC being a threat, a comeback victory in the Citrus Bowl in a stadium I know all too well, Camping World Stadium, a.k.a. the old Citrus Bowl, and the Citrus Bowl game played between Kentucky and Iowa, and Kentucky coming back in this game and staving off Iowa 20-17 with an late game interception that really canceled this thing out, which was huge. So great stuff going on in those games. The Peach Bowl, a game that I covered directly, in Michigan State coming back and beating Pittsburgh, scoring 21 unanswered points in the 4th quarter after going scoreless in the 3rd quarter. Toe-to-toe game, close game at halftime. Pitt Pitt being there, taking the lead, and then Pitt extending themselves out, and then Michigan State just blowing the door open in the 4th quarter. Offense, defense, and special teams all did their job. Shout out to Mel Tucker for the work that he's done. Shout out to Pat Narduzzi and Pitt for the work that they have done, and the relevancy that Pitt and Wake Forest have given to themselves inside of the ACC. I love it because Wake's an old, you look at Wake Forest and just kind of, they're in the dungeon of the ACC, right? People think of North Carolina, Duke, Clemson, of course. And so when they're thinking of the Carolinas, NC State, they're not thinking of Wake Forest. And now Wake Forest makes you think of them. They've earned their keep. And then Pitt, a team that, you look at the Big East and them coming in with Syracuse back in 2013 and not having the respect that they deserve, and they put some spec on their name and won the ACC championship. They vied for 2 ACC championships in the last few seasons under Narduzzi, and ultimately in the 9 years they've been to the ACC championship twice, and they won one of them. So Pittsburgh definitely looking more comfortable than Syracuse in the ACC. Fiesta Bowl, Oklahoma State, Notre Dame, another game that was a shootout. Loved watching it. Loved, seeing this game. This is a game that I put on my DVR to go back and watch later, and very, very much. This game, it shows you. Notre Dame, this was Coach Freeman's first game as the head coach in Notre Dame, and Oklahoma State went to work here in this matchup. Notre Dame led the game 14-0 in the first quarter, 14-7 at the end of the first quarter. Then they doubled that 28-14 in the second quarter. So getting 4 touchdowns in the first half, 14 points in the first, 28 in the second, 14 in the second, 28 at half. And then the third quarter was all Oklahoma State. I don't know what they talked about at halftime, but they came out there striking, down 28-14, and they take a 31-28 lead. And then they go up 34-28, 37-28, and then the game is made interesting by Notre Dame at the end of the game here. But Notre Dame runs out of time with 1:05 left. Jack Cohn with a 25-yard pass to Kevin Austin Jr., but it's 37-35. So Notre Dame only scored once in the second half after going up 28-14 and scoring 4 touchdowns in the first half, 2 in the first quarter, 2 in the second quarter. Like I stated, they gave up 5 scores in the second half and only scored once in the last 1:05 of the second half. They did not score the entire third quarter and the majority of the fourth quarter. Just huge play by Oklahoma State. Notre Dame's defense taking care of business. Their offense taking care of business. A tale of two halves. They come into the second half, give up 5 straight scores before they score in the last 1:05, and it wasn't enough. And so they had given themselves enough of a cushion to only have to score once to make it interesting, but they ran out of time, and Oklahoma State gets the victory. Rose Bowl, another great one here. Utah and Ohio State. I mean, these games just going down to the stretch, and I thought that Utah and Ohio State would be good because Utah has spoiled Oregon's chances at any hope of a college football playoff berth in each of the last 2 seasons. And then here comes Utah going into this game, and this is another one where you take a look at the game and the tail of the game here, kind of going through it here. Utah led 14-0 after the first quarter. And then there was a ton of scoring in the second quarter. Between the two teams, there were 6 scores. 6 scores, 3 by Ohio State and 3 by Utah. 35-21 looks like the end of a game. That was only the end of the first half. And then we come into the third quarter. Ohio State scores twice, and Utah is still up 38-31. And then in the fourth quarter, 3 out of 4 scores came from Ohio State. And the field goal at the end of the game by Noah Ruggles ends up winning this game, a 19-yard field goal, 48-45 with 9 seconds left on the clock. This game just so intense. I mean, you look at it, Ohio State, like I said, after not scoring in the first quarter, 3 times in the second quarter, 2 times in the third quarter, and then 3 out of 4 times in the fourth quarter. And basically what they did was, after that first quarter, they went toe-to-toe with Utah, and then they had one more score than Utah in each of the last 2 quarters to get this game just by enough, 48-45. So credit to them for that awesome game. And then Baylor handled Ole Miss, and the Lane Train didn't do anything in this game. 21-7, we see it. Matt Corral ends up getting hurt in the matchup and not getting to finish it. And that was just a sad way for this to happen. And it begs the question of, should you be, prepared, or should you play in the game? And that's the question that comes up here is, you talk about all these guys opting out, and it's, well, they don't want to get injured as they get set for the NFL. They're looking to their future. They've played, a bunch of games for their college team. Now it's time for them to look on to the future and to be ready for the future. So can you fault them for being for opting out of this? And this brought up a discussion that I was like, what, I got to have this in the new year now. Is, does it make sense for a player to opt out? Because, they talk about the fact that they don't want to get hurt. They opt out to protect themselves, from being hurt. And, I mean, there could be other reasons and whatnot, but they don't want to get hurt. And that's one of the things is saying, okay, I don't want to affect my future. I don't want to affect my draft stock. I don't want to affect my money. So I'm not going to play in this game, as much as I may care about my team and as much as, I'm happy that we got to this bowl game. I don't think I'm going to play in it because I want to make sure that, I take care of my future. I'm going to the NFL, hopefully. I want to get drafted high. I want to make good money. I want to go to a good team, and I want to have a bright future. So the question comes up, should you opt out? Now, before this Ole Miss game, I'm going to be honest with you, as I always am, and I thought to myself, I don't like the players opt out, because I think you should want to play. And, I think you should want to be out there with your brothers. You should want to play in the game. I said, last week before this Ole Miss game happened, I said I would regret it. I said, for me, I probably as a player would regret it if I didn't play in the game. Because I'd be thinking to myself, dang it, I never got to be in that bowl game and enjoy, everything that is the bowl game. And no matter what bowl game it is, it has meaning to me and it has purpose to me. So for me personally, I think that, I would regret not playing in the bowl game. And so, in my head, I'm like, yeah, it's more selfish that a player doesn't play in the bowl game and kind of says to his team, hey, I'm going to sit this one out and take care of myself. Good luck to you guys. And to me, I didn't really like that, But now I see Matt's injury, the Ole Miss quarterback, and I say to myself, okay, well now that we've seen a high-profile guy get hurt, if it affects, and I agree with one of the broadcasters that said this, if it affects his draft stock, you're going to see plenty more players opt out. If his injury affects a team's desire to get him and he falls down the board, and he makes less money and is drafted later in a round or in another round below the round he was going to be drafted in, if he falls out of the round he was looking at being drafted in, or he goes down that round and he loses money because of this, if his draft stock is affected by this, then you're going to see more players opt out. And, we've had the luxury of not seeing a lot of these guys go down in bowl games in recent history. So you kind of think to yourself, okay, you know what? It's selfish. You opt out of the game. You should play in it. I understand you want to make money. I understand you want to take care of your future. I get all that. But you should at least play in this last game with your team. You guys made it all the way here. And I'm all about finishing what you start, right? You started the season. You need to finish the season. And at the same time, I understand that a player needs to take care of themselves and their future and their family. But going into this Ole Miss game against Baylor, I leaned on the side of, I think you should play in the bowl game. Now, seeing Matt Corral get hurt, I'm now sitting here saying to myself this morning, is it the right decision? And this is where I pause. And this is where I say to myself, okay, now that we've seen this happen, now it's more in your face, And so I think it's changed the way that I'm thinking about this a bit here, because I do believe that you finish what you start, and I do believe that if you're a teammate all the way to the end. And I do believe that I would regret it if I didn't play in a bowl game, if I was a player at any position. With that being said, opting out in order to preserve your body from being hurt because you don't want to affect your draft stock. And then you think, well, Dan, what if you were meant to get hurt in your next game no matter what? Well, then a player would argue that next game would be in the NFL and it wouldn't affect my draft stock because I would have already been drafted. So, if there was an underlying injury or there was something that was kind of putting you in a position to be more susceptible, they wouldn't find out until after they drafted you. So for me, now looking at Matt Corral and what happened in this situation, I understand more so now a player deciding not to play in the game. Again, I think I would regret it, but I don't want Matt Corral to now be affected and lose money and lose his draft positioning because of this and have teams pass on him because of this. So this has brought up a really big discussion, and I'm going to put it on Twitter. I'm actually going to put it on Twitter right now. Are you for or against a player opting out of a bowl game? And I'd love to get your thoughts here. So if you're following us on Twitter, you can vote in this immediately. I'm going to put it up for a week. So 9:40 January 10th, this poll will finish. So you got a week to answer me. But if you're not on Twitter, I would suggest you get on Twitter now and follow @CallDT. That's CALLDT, and give me your thoughts here, because I would love to know what the people are thinking on this, especially after this just happened and we just saw, what happened with Matt Corral. So I would love to get your thoughts on opting out and whether or not you agree with it and you think that a player should be able to do that. So I'm putting the poll up literally right now, instantaneously, 9:42 a.m. Eastern Time on Monday, January 3rd, during our first show of 2022. Are you for or against a player opting out of a bowl game? Love to hear your thoughts. We've been putting polls up all throughout these past few weeks. Put them up for pretty much almost every single bowl game, and y'all voted in a big way. So I want to thank you for that. So I'll await your votes here, and as they come in, if we get some news here, I'll make sure that I let it be known to you kind of what you're saying in this poll. But are you for or against a player opting out of a bowl game? Would love to get your take on that, because we're in a place right now where this is a big question, especially after what we just saw. This is a big question, especially after what happened to Matt Corral. And I think that now it's put us in a place where we have to have the discussion even more. And again, I think that now players are going to be watching to see if this affects his draft stock. If it indeed affects his draft stock, then we're going to be in an interesting place. So with that being said, we have Tim Lester coming up next. I appreciate your patience on this. As I said, he had an impromptu meeting go on this morning. So we're going to take a quick step aside and come back with Lester right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. As promised, here with me on the lines and inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', our first guest of 2022. You had to be patient. You had to be patient inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and he didn't know this before he came on here right now, but my official first guest that will forever be in the history of the year 2022 is Tim Lester with our first show of 2022. He is our first one on the air. So with that being said, Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm honored. Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year to you too. And I know that you got to shut your phone off. You got to shut down the engines, charge the battery, and all of that. So what was that like for you after the bowl game?
Oh, it was great. Obviously, coming off a win, and then me and my fam and my kids, we went up north a little bit, skied a little bit, and now we drove back yesterday, and now we're back in the office turning the page.
And I got to go back to this because we talked about it off the air, but speaking here with Tim Lester, Western Michigan Broncos head football coach, I told you that I predicted every single one of the 43 bowl games, and last time you were on the phone, I said you better make me right. So I have to congratulate you on making me right in the Quick Lane Bowl.
Yeah, well, that was the goal all along, and guys came out and played well, man.
We go to that game, and like I had said to you when we were talking, I had the opportunity to, I was sitting here thinking to myself as I'm watching the game, because it was like right after the show, the game came on at like 11 o'clock, and so show ends at 11. I get on the couch, I'm watching Western Michigan in the Quick Lane Bowl, and watching one of my good friends of the last better part of a decade now, and I knew the background of the history of this game, and if and when you were to win, what it meant and whatnot. Now I look at it, and PJ Fleck, who has been commended on everything he did at Western Michigan, coached there right before you became the head coach, 3 bowl games in 4 years. And you've been there 5 years, but you've had 3 bowl games in 4 years like he did, and in that same stretch of time. He was 1-2, you're 1-2, and you're the only two coaches to ever win a bowl game at Western Michigan, with Western Michigan going to 10 bowl games and having 2 wins, one with PJ Fleck, one with you. So you have now paralleled a coach that has a lot of respect nationally. What does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, obviously it's great to be compared. I'm going to be compared, obviously, by following him here, but he's a great coach, done amazing things, doing a great job up at Minnesota, and try. You know, it's really hard in our league to keep it going. You know, change is hard, and new coaches is hard, and our kids have bought in, and we've kept it going, and so I'm proud of the kids for buying in, and really happy with where we're at, and we're still getting better.
You know, to have this victory, you know, for you, Tim, this is being a coach in today's world. You know, you used to think, you know, the mentality was, hey, give a coach 4 or 5 seasons so they can recruit an entire team that's theirs, top to bottom, and then see what they can do with it. And then it was 3 or 4 years. Now it feels like it's 2. As a head coach in college football at the Division I FBS level, how much pressure do you feel? Like you said, it's hard in the MAC to win consistently. How much pressure do you feel in today's kind of microwave society of everything needs to be done and it needs to be done immediately?
Well, it's true, and I think what people forget with a lot of that things is that we put the same amount of pressure on ourselves. I mean, you put this much time in and time away from your family to win, you know, and so for us, we won 6 our first year, then 7, then we had COVID happen, and then we went 8 this year, and we've just been slowly building it and getting better every time we're out there, and sometimes it takes 2 years, sometimes it takes 4, you know. So it's we've been competitive. We still want, you know, we want to win that MAC championship. We've been in it. We've been into the final game twice. You know, we want to finish the job. But you just look at the growth that we've had every single year, and we're definitely headed in the right direction. I think that's probably the biggest thing is where are you going, you know, and what direction is the program going? Because I think, you know, everyone wants it to be going in the direction that we have our program going, and that's really the key. Obviously we want it in year 1, we want it in year 2, but are we still heading that way? And that's, I think, the key to the growth.
Speaking here with Western Michigan Broncos head football coach Tim Lester, our first guest of 2022 here on Wake Up Call. Tim, you've never had a losing season in 5 years at Western Michigan. Your first year was 6-6, which is kind of unheard of. Typically, a coach, when they take over a program, is going to have a losing season or 2 or 3. You went 500 in your first year, and you've had a winning record ever since. What do you think you can attribute to the fact that you've been able to either be at the equator or above the equator at Western Michigan?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is just the recruiting. You know, we brought in good players, and it's hard. The hardest part is transitioning quarterbacks. You know, we had one quarterback we inherited that, you know, well, obviously when we took over, our quarterback went on to the NFL, and then we had a first quarterback, and then we've had a second, and we'll be moving on to a third here pretty soon. So, you know, being able to have good quarterback play, I don't think you can win without it. You know, even when you have the young kid, you throw him out there. I think of Eric Dungy, his first year, you know, you're going to struggle your first year. Shoot, I was 2-9 my freshman year playing, and then we won, you know, 8 or more from that point on. So it's, I think that's one of the keys is we've just been able to be consistent, and we've brought in good players. And I think that's the key for a program is you obviously have one set of players that make it through 2 or 3 years, and, you know, can you recruit? Can you keep guys around, especially in this portal era? And can you replace them and still, you know, be effective? And that's something we've been able to do, and we'll have to continue to do to be competitive.
You know, and when you see the MAC, like you said, you know, you've been to the championship game, trying to win that championship game and whatnot, trying to do it under you. It's every single year we see a different team hoist that trophy pretty much in the MAC. Just what that says about the conference, that it is so hard to get to the championship and win it, and it's even harder to win it back-to-back years, which is something we almost never see in recent history in the MAC.
Yeah, it's just the parity, especially on our West Division. The parity is crazy. I mean, this year, every single team in our division went to a bowl game. The last time that was done was 2015 in the SEC, where the SEC West, the entire division was bowl eligible and all had winning seasons. So that's what we deal with on a week in, week out basis. Is every team you play, there's not going to be that 2-10 team or that 3-9 team that you can get an easy win on. There are none, and so that's the challenge. It's exciting, and it makes every week huge, and that's what we need to continue to get comfortable with and find a way to win close games. Northern Illinois won our league this year. They won the West, and give them credit. They won 7 games in the last possession, and that's what it takes. A little bit like the NFL that way. That a lot of one-score games, and it really prepares you for moving on when you get used to winning close games.
And Tim, you speak on moving on, and I know that after this bowl game, after the win in the Quick Lane Bowl, you got to turn the page and you got to get on the recruiting trail and finish up some things. And obviously there's National Signing Day Part 2 in February and whatnot, and that's fast approaching here, about a month away. So as you're going through your work and what you need to do, let's look at those that are moving on. What can you say about your potential NFL draft prospects? Some of these guys that you really think have a shot, and maybe a vote of confidence you want to say about them on today's show this morning.
Well, Ali Fayed, I think, is our highest rated guy. I mean, he was the defensive player of the year in our league. He's a defensive end, drop end, outside linebacker that's great at rushing the passer. He's been doing it for 4 years. He was pretty much our first recruit when we got here. And he's about 6'2", 255 pounds, and just electric speed, So, he's going to go play in the Shrine game. Our center, Mike Caliendo, is going to go play in the NFL PA game. Another guy, Ralph Holly's our 3 technique. He's going to have a shot. So it's fun. It's fun, to watch these guys. They come in, they're with you for 4 years. They do everything you ask them to do, and then they get their opportunity, and that's the best part of the job. Watching, we obviously played this game in Detroit, the Quick Lane Bowl, and so I got, David Blau, my quarterback at Purdue, who's the backup for the Lions. He came over with his wife and got to hang out with him a little bit, and, just watching guys. You had a small piece in it. They did all the work, but, when you have guys that come in and do everything you ask them to do, and they have success and they have a chance to play, there's nothing more gratifying than watching the guys get their opportunities, and we're going to have plenty of guys that are going to get that opportunity here in the next 6 months.
And that for you to see that, to see these guys move forward and to have opportunities at the next level, how do you try to scout that talent? Because I can't say that it's that I know maybe you'll say maybe it's a little bit of luck and whatnot, but when you can find a player that's not just good collegiately and is not just capable in like postseason bowl games and whatnot, and then maybe nationally in numbers, but to play in the NFL, when you're scouting, do you feel like you can almost sniff out an NFL caliber player? Can you see their success ahead of them in college and the pros, or do you think that that's impossible to do? Because some coaches just seem to have a knack for finding NFL talent when they're collegiate coaches.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I mean, you definitely look at the measurables. Is he going to have everything that he needs to open up the eyes of the NFL? And there are some measurables there. Not that they're ironclad, but they're definitely real. And a guy like Eric Dungy that came in with the height and the athleticism and could he fill out? What was he going to fill out? That's the fun part about college, is they leave looking totally different than when they showed up. And that's different. The NFL is not a developmental league. They're a league that you have to be ready to play. And you can see a guy 5 years later, like I just talked about David Blau. He looked the exact same as when I coached him at Purdue. So the developmental part is the key. And that's what we focus on as a program, is making sure that you understand how much effort we're going to put into you and your body and your height, weight, and we're going to get your weight where it needs to be, and we're going to get your speed where it needs to be. And I think you can see that a little bit in high school, but they got to come in and put a ton of work in, when they get here. And those guys that do always seem, the guys like Ali Fayed and Ralph Holly and Mike Caliendo, they always seem to get their shot, and then they got to take it from there. But it is it is something that you can see, but you really don't know until they get there and they start getting in the weight room and you kind of see what makes them tick. And you try to do your best in recruiting to figure that out by talking to coaches. And there's personality tests you can do to try to figure out what makes them tick. But there's something unique about an NFL player as far as their work ethic and their toughness that's really what you're looking for in recruiting.
Yeah, and here with Tim Lester, Western Michigan Broncos head football coach, you have a lot of these talented players and players that are more than capable. When we see this, and I was talking about this right before you came on the air this morning on Wake Up Call inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, is the opt-out. Should a player be able to opt out of a bowl game? And I personally said to myself, I think, I'm a person who finishes what I start. So if I start, we start a season, we got another game, I'm going to finish it. I want to come all the way to the end. I feel like I would regret it if I didn't play in the bowl game. Those are my brothers. I don't want to leave them out there and not be a part of this ride. But then at the same time, I'm looking at this going, yeah, it seems selfish, but these guys have to take care of their future and their NFL draft stock and their money and whatnot. And I was leaning more on the side of I think that you should play. And then Matt Corral goes out there and he gets hurt early on in the Ole Miss loss to Baylor. And now I'm sitting here this morning going, well, if his draft stock gets affected by this and his money gets affected by this, now I feel like this is going to become even a bigger issue. What are your thoughts on the opt-out? And being a former quarterback, seeing what happened with Matt at Ole Miss, what's your take on it?
Well, I felt terrible for him. I was proud that he played. That's his choice. I really look at when you turn the page from college to the pros, I mean, it is a business, period, the end. And but it is the highest level business you can ever imagine. So for those guys that, which is a small select group, guys that, really don't have much more up the board to move. Those guys that decide to not play and for their future, and as long as that you're a first round draft pick, you're a second round draft pick, and you're about as high as you're going to go, it makes sense. When you get to the third, fourth, fifth, day 2 and 3 guys, they have space. They can help themselves by playing. And that's kind of how when I've talked to some of our players about it, that seems to be the thing, is that can you help yourself with this game? Because people don't realize this is something that no one looks at the math of this thing. If you are a 5th, 6th, or 7th round draft pick, I mean, you have about a 50% chance of making a team. People think it's more, I got drafted, I've made it. No, you have a 50% chance of being on the roster next year with those teams. But if you are a 3rd or 4th round draft pick, you have about a 80% chance of making the team. And if you're in 1st and a 2nd round draft pick, you're on the team. You're going to get multiple years to figure out if you're good enough to play in the NFL. So, moving up from the 5th round to the 4th round is a huge, my goal for my players is to make the NFL, not just get a shot. I want them to make it. So I totally understand and respect when guys don't have anything to gain from it. And if, they decide to sit out, they decide to sit out. I get that. It makes sense. Other guys, I hope that they realize the business side of it of, your goal isn't to just get into a training camp. Your goal is to make the team next year. And being able to be a 3rd round draft pick or a 4th round or a 5th and have a great bowl game and help yourself and move up, I think there's a ton of value in that. And I hope it doesn't leak down to those guys, because those I don't think are good business decisions. And then if you're a 1st or 2nd round guy and you want to play, kudos. I mean, like Matt wanted to play, and I appreciate that. I think a lot of teams it might help his draft stock to know that that's the type of guy you have, and I hope he's okay. And if it's an ankle, which I've heard, it'll heal. And he'll be fine again. But I think the fact that he wanted to do that for his teams could help him when it comes to GMs around the NFL looking at his decision.
Well, and the fact that he doesn't give up on his team, and the fact that he wanted to be out there, I think it speaks to his character. So
yeah, that matters when you're hiring a franchise, or when you're signing a franchise quarterback. And that the DNA of that guy and what he's able to do. And obviously I'm here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, so we've watched Stafford, get hurt and break a rib and continue finishing the drive. And there's so much respect for him. and for being able to be tough and not quit on your team. So there's definitely something to gain. No one seems to be talking about what he gained by playing in that game. Unfortunately, he got hurt, and I'm hoping he gets healthy soon for his sake. But I definitely commend him for playing. But I would have understood if he didn't. You know.
Yeah, no, and I get that, and that's kind of where I'm at this morning, is seeing something like that happen. You know, now people are going to say, see, this is why I opt out. But at the same time, you know, would he regret it or make the same decision again? Only he can answer that, but hopefully it doesn't affect his stock. You talked about the NFL not being a developmental league. When you get there, you need to know what you're doing. They're not going to sit there and tell you, like, you got to lift this and got to do this and got to, you know, study that and whatnot. But in college, Tim, and I'm sure you know this, there are coaches in this microwave society that it's not just the fans. There's coaches that want to recruit players that are already done, that are already made, that are 18 years old, and they're big and they're fast and they're strong and they don't have to do a lot of work. You know, developing a player to some coaches and to some programs is a lost art. Bring me into, because you talked about Dungy and his body totally changed in the 4 years. I was there. I got to see it all happen, and I got to see how, you know, the evolution of him, the evolution of Dyshawn Davis, the bunch of guys right in front of me that just changed. What can you say about developing in the college world, and does that energize you? Does that excite you? And do you understand and really see that when you're on the recruiting trail or, you know, going out there coaching and whatnot, not every coach wants to develop a player anymore?
Yeah, and that's sad, because I really think that's the key. You know, development is the key, and it's all shown by we have more NFL players that, you know, currently on NFL rosters at Western Michigan than anywhere else in our league. And we've done a good job of developing them, and the key is to develop you as far as you possibly can go. And if you listen and you pay attention to, you know, the culture and what Nick Saban preaches, I mean, they're all about development, you know, and then they're dealing with 5-star guys, but, you know, that's how they get so many first-round draft picks, because those kids, even though they're 5-star guys, they go into a culture for 4 years of development and competition and develop, and they push themselves from, you know, not being drafted when they get there to being first-round draft picks, and there's tons of them, because of the way they build their culture around growth, and how you are continuing to push yourself. We always say it's like running on a treadmill. The moment you stop, you get kicked right off, you know, and so it's one of those things that it helps, you know, teams that are focused on the right things. You know, if you're developing guys and they're going on and they're playing, then people see that. You know, people see that in Alabama, but make no mistake about it, what his focus is as a culture and as a program. You know, I know we watched them play for 4 months, but the other 8 months, I mean, it's all about growth, and I think that's what people see, and that's why they want to go there.
Yeah, you know, and to see, you know, when people say how does this coach do it better than everybody else? I mean, we're all human beings, but it's about, I really honestly think it's about who does the most work, who does the research, who knows how to develop, who's understood things, who's learned from their mistakes. I mean, they say that the word luck is labor under correct knowledge. Then in order to be, you know, the harder you work, the smarter you work, the more you care, the more honest you are in your craft, and the more you give to it, that, you know, those people look lucky, when in reality, it's not luck. It's just a whole lot of work and you know, things, because, I mean, people look at that, you know, how did all these things seem to break their way? I mean, how does Alabama always recharge? How does Clemson recharge? And like you said, when you go from quarterback to quarterback and trying to find the right guy, you know, Tim, I think a lot of people say that you just kind of fell into somebody and you were lucky. I don't agree with that. I think the people that are out there being most diligent in their craft and doing things the right way, they're the ones that come through, because you can't say that Alabama just accidentally gets lucky all the time. That's ridiculous.
No, and I think there's a combination, especially there, of two things. One is they do a good job recruiting great players, but then they grow them. They were already great when they got there, and they just keep going, and they teach them everything they need to know, and the guys buy into it. And if you don't buy in, you move on. But the guys that have bought in are all very high draft picks. And so I think you're right. There's so many things that go into. You watch a quarterback coach who's had one all-conference quarterback, or has he had an all-conference quarterback everywhere he's been, and has he always been able to produce a quarterback? And so eventually, the luck kind of goes out the window, and you start realizing that they're, like you said, they're creating their own luck, and that they're working at all the right things, and they're teaching their guys differently. And I mean, everybody can stumble on one, and then after that, you earn the rest. I mean, how many different coaches have they had at Alabama? And the culture continues to produce really, really good, hungry, hardworking players, and that have a ton of talent, and that's all about the culture and the way they focus on growing, and that's what we focus on. We do talk about wins and losses and all that other stuff, but we just want to see us continue to get better and play better and get our guys bigger and faster and stronger, and help the guys after they're done here. And so it's and it grow. You can feel momentum growing when you do it the right way, and you can maintain it, which is the hardest thing to do in college football. Consistency just isn't something that you see much, and it's rare when you find it.
And with you being one of the consistent coaches in the FBS, I know that we've talked about some pillars of this, but to make it more concise, I guess, of an answer, what would you attribute to your own success at consistency in college football?
Well, I have to go back to recruiting and developing. I mean, that's what everything is about. And if you recruit correctly, I believe, I'm very honest with the guys from the moment I meet them. What it's going to be like when they get here. I'm not just trying to get them to say yes and then they get here and it's not what they thought it was going to be. I want to make sure they know how we work, and I want them to come down to a practice, which was hard during COVID, to get the feel for how competitive it is every single day, and the environment that they're going to be in, and the things we're going to do. I'm a big technology and analytics guy, so we have all the technology on the bar speed and on the GPS units, and we have arm sleeves for our quarterbacks, so we can use technology to grow them, and having the correct knowledge of the things that's going to make them better. So not only can they hear it out of our mouth, but they can see it on the data reports, and then they obviously see it onto the field, and the all-conference players and the players of the year and all that stuff. And once they buy into it, and once they understand it, what's going to get them to point A to point B, and they take ownership in it, the sky's the limit for that kid. As opposed to saying you're going to come here, you're going to play, it's going to be easy. You gotta sell them what's going to happen, and then when they truly buy in. And when you have that with enough players, I think you can be consistent. And but it all starts during the recruiting process, and then holding them accountable when they get here.
And you literally just said labor under correct knowledge. You just gave the luck side of things. Tim, before I let you go, Tim Lester, Western Michigan Broncos head football coach, on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. I want to go into, you speak of the talent and developing that talent. You have a stable of running backs that just know how to go crazy on the field. And watching this Quick Lane Bowl game and seeing, Sean Tyler and Jackson Kincaid, and I know you have other names out there, but Tyler ending the season with over 1,100 yards rushing and over 6 yards a carry. Kincaid, almost 6 yards a carry. Between the two of them, 14 rushing touchdowns. I mean, I know that, you're out there coaching and whatnot, but at the basis of everything, whether you're a coach or you're a player or you're a broadcaster, you're a fan of the game, you're a fan of the sport. How much fun is it for you on the sidelines, and was it for you on the sidelines, to watch Tyler and Kincaid just do what they did?
Oh, I mean, those kids, that whole room. I mean, Ladarius Jefferson, is arguably one of our best backs, and he unfortunately tested positive for COVID while we were at the bowl game day one. So we lost him. So we kind of went from a 3-headed monster to a 2-headed monster.
Okay.
And those two guys picked up. They got a couple more carries that they normally, we try to divvy it up amongst the three of them and kind of figure out who has the hot hand as we get into the third and fourth quarter. And the guys up front did it. We knew going into this game we wanted to be physical with them. We want to run downhill at them and decide, figure out what they wanted to do. We have a very talented wide receiving core, especially Sky Moore, and they kept two guys on him most of the day, which made the box lighter But in that case, the offensive line needs to do a job. Our running backs need to run hard. And, man, I thought they were physical from the get-go. I think we rushed for 350 yards or something like that. And it's really fun to watch those guys go out there and be physical, with the tight ends physical. We put 2 backs in there, so sometimes one had to block for the other. And, it opens everything up. It opens up the pass game. It opens up everything when you can do that. I know everyone can't do that, but we felt going into this game that we had a great opportunity to be physical with them, and we were able to take advantage of that. And we had more passes in if we needed them, but the game plan worked the way we wanted it to, and we just stuck with it. And those guys did a great job at, number one, protecting the ball, and 2, being physical and falling forward every time they ran.
Being in your 3rd bowl game in 4 seasons, like I said, something that PJ Fleck had also done, and winning a bowl game in 3 tries, which is also something that PJ Fleck had done at Minnesota. To parallel that and to be a part of history, to be one of only 2 coaches in 60 years of Western Michigan Broncos football to win a bowl game, did you feel that pressure going into the game? And then secondly to that, what were your emotions like the moment that the clock struck 0?
Well, one, I just got doused with Gatorade, which I was hoping if I was going to get it, I was thinking water would be better than Gatorade because it's sticky. So other than being drenched, I was just happy for the kids. I mean, we talked about it all week long, and our first bowl game, we got ran out of the gym by Zach Wilson and BYU, and then the second bowl game, we had the game won, and gave it to Western Kentucky. They kicked a 50-some yard field goal as time expired to beat us, which was frustrating. I felt like we were growing there, and we could have won that one. So the kids all remembered that, and they stayed focused the whole time. I give them all the credit. I mean, it's hard when you have a big break to get back into, dial it in for playing a good, solid football game when you haven't played a game in like a month. And our guys came out. So I was so happy for them. We talked about being champions, and we want to be the champions of the MAC, and we haven't been able to accomplish that yet. But we had a chance to be champions on that Monday morning at 11 o'clock at Ford Field. And to watch them go out there with that pressure and executing and getting it done, I was happy for them. I was happy for the seniors, and obviously happy for the young guys, that can hopefully grow off of this.
And Tim, for you, I mean, this is your alma mater. This is where you played quarterback. This is where you led them down the field once before, and now you're doing it with a headset on. 5 seasons, you're stepping into season number 6. What does the future look like for you, and how comfortable, or I don't want to say comfortable, but how happy are you in Western Michigan, in Kalamazoo?
Well, I love it. This is home for me, right? So it's like this is where I cut my teeth. So every time I see our guys run out there with that uniform on, it's the same one I wore. So it just means more, and so it's so much fun to watch the program move, and I think I'm getting better. I think I'm understanding the league more. I think I'm understanding, hiring coaches better, and I'm understanding recruiting better, and I'm fighting really hard to understand this portal better because it's new, and it's something new that if you do a better job adapting to it than other people, then you can gain a little bit of an advantage in January and in whenever May when guys could be transferring in. So I feel like we're getting stronger because we're continually trying to grow as coaches and understand, when you make mistakes, get them fixed and move forward. And the people that have the patience to do that, and obviously it takes administrators to be patient with that process. When you have that, great things can happen, and that's what we're in the middle of it. And we're seeing signs that it's moving in the right direction, and we need to keep pushing it there.
So 2 final questions, by far the most important of this conversation. Tim Lester being our first guest on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora of 2022, which is an honor. So I guess it's a 3 thing. What do you think about the fact that I tabbed you as my first guest of the new year?
Well, I'm honored. I was on. I guess I didn't really look down at the date, but it is an honor to be the first one of what I'm sure is going to be many great guests, and I'm proud to be the first one.
And then my last 2 questions for you, and these are vital here. Tell me something good about Texas Tech running backs coach DeAndre Smith as he gets ready to join the show.
2 things. One, everywhere D has been, Three things. One, he was a phenomenal quarterback back in the day. I mean, like player of the all-century team. I remember we were at Purdue, we're at Purdue together, or we're at two places together. How he had to go back because he was on the all-century team. Like he was a special player, and everywhere he's been, anywhere he's been, you look at the running backs and their production and their ball security and what they've been able to do. It's just unbelievable, and an unbelievable person, an unbelievable recruiter. And when I left Syracuse to go to Purdue and we had a running back job open, I mean, I was pounding the table to get D to be a part of what we were doing there, and so that was special. And then the third thing is he's the best dressed human being I've ever met, no question. Take it to talk about growth. Like every week he does something new, and it was fun at Syracuse because the players, his running backs, would always try to match him when we had to suited and booted to get on a plane. No one touches him, man. No one does. It's the most impressive thing I've ever seen. It's a fun thing when you get to game day or get to day, you're getting on a flight, and D comes walking in just unbelievably looking sharp. It's a cool thing.
And we know that DeAndre has a problem with the mail, but I'm going to ask you this, Mr. Lester. Do I get a Quick Lane Bowl care package? Do I get some Western Michigan love now that you guys won this bowl game?
Well, we got to get some in. We've ordered a ton of it. I'll make sure when I get some to send it your way for sure, 100%.
Because, I know that I was able to rock some Western Michigan gear during the bowl game, but I couldn't rock any Texas Tech, and and I know why. So...
Yeah, well, I can tell you, the picture you sent me of what the shirt you wore during the game, it definitely sent good vibes into Ford Field in Detroit. It was good.
Yeah, well, thank you for everything you've done, and thank you for the work you put forward. Tim, I would talk to you, as you know, whether you were a quality control coach, a head coach, or a janitor, it doesn't matter to me. You're good people. You have been great to me for the better part of a decade, and I'm just so happy this morning that I get to congratulate a friend on a bowl victory, because you are one of the coaches out there that's only going to rise, and you're only going to have your name go out there more and more. So stay humble, stay hungry, and keep that phone line open, because you have always, no matter how much you've grown and how many great things you've done, you have never forgotten your roots from what I've seen, and you've always taken time for me. So I just want to say thank you, not only for what you do for your players, but what you do for me, and that you're one of those people that you're proud to see be successful, because the more successful you get, you still are Tim Lester, and I think that says a lot about your character.
Well, I appreciate that, and I feel the same about you. You come across people. I've been in the ACC, I've been in the Big Ten, I've been in Division III, Division II, the MAC now. That you come across people that are great, genuine people, and those are the people you like to stay in touch with. Obviously, I think everyone's that way, and so we were lucky enough to cross paths at the Q's, and it's awesome to continue our relationship.
Yeah, well, with that being said, Mr. Lester, congratulations and welcome back to Kalamazoo, and on to the recruiting trail, and you and I will be in touch, I'm sure, in a month or so at least, when we find out who else is coming to Western Michigan. But in the meantime, God bless with everything, and keep being you. I appreciate what you do.
God bless you. Happy New Year to everybody. Take care, man.
Take care. That coming from Tim Lester once again on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. We're going to take a quick step aside for a fast break inside the Cafe Kubal Studios. When we spin back around, we'll be joined by another coach who knows what it's like to win in bowl season this season, and that's DeAndre Smith, running backs coach for your Texas Tech Red Raiders, right after this. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavocollis.com. That's myAVICOLLIS.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. My guy and I off the air here, we could have been talking this whole time and had our conversation off the air. It's great to catch up with him. We missed each other a couple times yesterday, but he sent me a video of the family just kind of lounging out, having a good time. And it reminded me that there's places in this country where it's still warm outside, so that's nice. But DeAndre Smith, I'm so proud, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and of course, Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com's What's Poppin', bringing you the who's going to be on the show every Monday through Friday from 9 to 11. You just heard from Tim Lester, DeAndre Smith with me now, and I hope DeAndre can, and I appreciate your patience too. I told Tim that by coming on here later on, he was going to cut into D's time, but I'm giving D as much time as he wants. So if we got to go over, we go over, because that's what we do for DeAndre. But my feeling on DeAndre, and I hope that, he can be patient here because I have a little bit of a big intro. This gentleman, now I grew up and my nickname was D, and his nickname's D. So I love getting messages saying, "What up, D?" And then I'm like, "Hey, what's going on, D?" And back and forth. He has worked so diligently, and I can say these things. I know he's humble, but I can say whatever the heck I want to say about how great he is. Syracuse did not know what they had. And then he moved on and bounced around to a bunch of different places and had time in Purdue and had time at Utah State and had time at North Carolina and is now at Texas Tech, and he's been all over the country. What I know about DeAndre Smith is that the track record that he has is wherever he goes, there is success. He could be there for a year, 3 years, 2 years, whatever it may be, but the longevity is inconsequential. If you give him 5 minutes, he's going to give you results. If you give him 5 years, he's going to give you results. The best program is going to, I think the most knowledgeable program is going to understand that when you get DeAndre, you lock him up. And with Texas Tech changing their head coach but retaining DeAndre, it says a lot about who he is, and it says a lot about Texas Tech doing their research, in my opinion, to not let this guy go and be successful somewhere else. D is such a great mind when it comes to the running backs, but he's an even better friend and an even nicer person. I, for the better part of a decade, have been able to call him a friend. We have had candid conversations on and off the air. We have built something that I think is everlasting. And so, as I told him off the air, and I tell Tim and Joe Adam and so on and so forth, when they win, when they're successful, when something good happens, when they send me a picture or a video or whatever it may be, it means so much more to me because of who they are and because of how they do what they do. So I know it's a long intro, but it's a worthy intro that in my first show of 2022, I have not one but two gentlemen that have been loyal to me, good to me, have never forgotten me, and I've never forgotten them. So it is with my absolute pleasure and a blessing from God that somehow I crossed paths with this guy. Yes, he's a good running backs coach, but to me, he's a good friend, and that's DeAndre Smith. D, how we doing today?
D, man, that's kind of hard to follow up. I can just hang up right now. But hey, Happy New Year to you. I appreciate that, my friend. All is well. No complaints at all, but I really do appreciate the friendship. And I got a chance to listen to a little bit of your conversation with Coach Lester, and proud of what he's doing at Western Michigan, and Coach Adams. Coach Adam he'll send me a pic every now and again when he's out. Sitting out smoking a cigar and things like that. So we stay in touch as best we can. Miss those guys, and those are two the good ones in this profession for sure.
One of the cool things that we got to do, and I came up with the idea, but you guys made it possible, is, during this whole COVID times, I said, I want to get the band back together. And we did a Zoom call with a bunch of you former coaches former SU coaches where you had all met at Syracuse, and I got to put you all on the screen together. And to me, like, a lot of you guys hadn't seen each other since Syracuse, and I just thought that was a lot of fun. Looking back on that, like, what does a moment like that mean to you? Because for me to have that idea and go, hey, I'm going to try this, like, again, you guys made it possible, but it was so much fun for me to see you all on screen again, because selfishly, I miss that. And I know that you guys miss that too.
Yeah, it was first of all, it was a great idea. And, when you do something like that, you have to have had real good memories working with those guys to even want to do it. Those reunions, situations don't necessarily always happen because it probably wasn't as pleasant, as some people think. But we generally had a great time. We worked for a great head coach in Scott Shaper, so we all had the same kind of focus and common goal to make sure we try to make Syracuse as successful as we possibly could. But we just really liked being around each other. and I was fortunate enough to work another time with Coach Lester at Purdue. So that just furthered the professional relationship that we had, the friendship that we had, that we enjoyed working with each other. I thought one thing that I kind of feel like I'm still connected with Coach Lester is because his quarterback is a St. Louis guy that I know I introduced Lester to him while he was while we were at Syracuse, a kid from St. Louis. So he has went on and done some really great things for those guys. So it was kind of one of those deals of respect that we had for each other and how we recruited and an evaluation of players and all those type of things came together. And, yeah, you get a chance to be with each other. We have our coach convention coming up this weekend, and hopefully I'll get a chance to bump into those guys and we just sit down and fellowship a little bit. But it was a great idea. It was fun to see those guys, and hopefully, again, I'll get a chance to see more this weekend when we get to San Antonio.
And D, a really cool thing about this, and you just mentioned it, you said, you mentioned Joe Adam, and, you invoked his name, and he somehow must have heard it because he favorited the fact that we're talking to each other right now around the time you said his name. But you said he'll send you a picture with a cigar, and you kind of opened me up to a question I was already going to ask you. Give me a perfect segue. Who is a better cigar connoisseur, you or Joe Adam?
I honestly think Joe might have me.
Okay.
Joe, he might have me. If not, it's going to be a close 1A, 1B situation. But no, Joe, always been big time with that, and I've just been trying to keep up, so to speak. And I have my fair share of them that I like, but I know Joe has always been a big cigar smoker, and he sends me some cigars I don't know about. So yeah, I would probably have to give him the nod on that one for sure.
Speaking
Welcome
of
here
DeAndre Smith, Texas
to a
Tech,
very
Red Raiders,
special wake-up
running
call
backs coach.
with Dan Tortora. We're
Bring me
inside of the
into-
Cafe
you
Football
leave Utah
Studios.
State,
I got the new logo
decision
stuff on. I had to get some
go with your head coach at the time and a bunch of the staff to Texas Tech, and then in a short amount of time, the coach is let go, and you're retained. Bring me through the process of this, because the coaching world is so fluid, and you got to experience that, and you have experienced that. But what's it like to go through a period of you trust the coach, you leave, you go with them to a different program, then that coach is let go, and then you get retained? Just bring me into this whole process, because I think it's a very unique world. Not always, very rarely do you see coaches get retained. Typically, when a new coach comes in, they bring in their staff and they start all over again.
Well, yeah, just talking about being retained, I'll start there first. Actually, this is the first time that's ever happened in my career. Usually when you make a change at the top, that usually means all of us are looking for jobs. So totally was okay with that. I understand the business is part of it. If that was going to be the case, and I did not have a conversation with the head coach until after our season was over against Baylor. So the new head coach was hired. Coach McGuire was hired probably with 4 games left, and the agreement was that he was going to stay away. We're going to finish the season, and then he kind of take over after that. So there was no communication at all. I didn't know him, never met him, but he did have a chance to visit with all the players and, of course, the administration and all those types of things. So when it was all said and done, obviously I'm extremely grateful and blessed to be retained. I'm excited about what we've got coming back and moving forward, the excitement that's around the program. So it's going to be a really good situation for us. But it was definitely difficult. I didn't spend a lot of time. What happens when you're in season and we didn't have a bye week at that particular time, so you're just going to work every day and you're putting in a game plan, and then before you know it, you got game after game after game. And then I can remember the last office staff meeting that we had on a Thursday, and it was like, wow, man, this is going to be the last time we're all going to be together. And it happens just like that, because you're so focused on you kind of going through your routine, and it's like there's no song that says, hey, this is it. You got to go to work, you put in you put in the game plan, and then the next day, hey, that's it. So it's bittersweet, but I work this group at Texas Tech, the men that I work with, those coaches are second to none, great guys. Again, similar to Syracuse, we enjoy being around each other, and it was on both sides of the ball, offense, defense. Again, real similar to Syracuse, and we had a common goal. We had great kids there. We have great kids there, and we wanted to, when the change happened, to play one more game. That was our goal. We totally believed that 12 games was not going to be enough. We were going to play another one and go to a bowl game. So we had a chance to extend that period together, which created a little bit more of some uncertainty, being bowl eligible, and then having both coordinators get head jobs, and then they went off to their new programs, and I was kind of left in charge to kind of, run bowl practices and things like that, which was fun for me. Got a chance to do that and set the tone on what we were trying to do, ultimately, which is to win the game, and it was a great night for us to win the game. So we went through a whole lot. The first time I've ever gone through anything like that in my career. But for me and those players, and really the coaches that came back, is that, hey, you kind of sign up for this. You understand sometimes you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and we make it work. And those kids did a great job, and you've seen the reward with the victory last Tuesday.
That coming here from DeAndre Smith inside of the Cafe Cubal Studios here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. DeAndre, the Texas Tech Red Raiders running backs coach. DeAndre, you've experienced what it's like to come onto a team as part of a staff, as part of the staff, and having players that were recruited that weren't your guys, and then making the decision of, okay, am I going to utilize these guys? Am I going to recruit somebody else? What am I going to do? Do you feel the flip of that now, that it's like, okay, now a new coach is coming in and you have to get a feel for them. They didn't hire you, so it's almost like, when you came onto a team and there was a player already there, now the coach is coming onto a team and you're already there as a coach. How does that feel? And can you maybe empathize with players now and being in a situation of, are you sitting in your office going, I hope that we gel well together, like I hope we get each other? Like how do you tackle that unique situation? It's kind of the situation that a player feels when a coach changes.
Yeah, you definitely can empathize with players when they have to deal with that transition as well. And what I've learned, because I have moved around a lot in this profession, is you stay true to your core on kind of how you are as a coach, as a person, on and off the field. And what I've found is you're going to get a lot of respect when you go out, and guys can trust that you're going to get your job done. So I always have the mindset that I'm trying to be the best running back coach in the entire country. So that's how I approach every day when I go to work, and you should see those actions in how I work and how I interact. I'm a very positive guy, so I'm always trying to find the positives in anything that I'm dealing with. So I don't sit around and think about it. I go do my job. I interact with the guys. You would have to really find a reason not to say, okay, not only just, like or respect what I do, but just say you feel comfortable around me, because I try to always do that. I think that's a little bit of the quarterback in me. Yeah, it's kind of what you have to be able to do when you're a leader. So I have that approach, and just finishing 23 years, I haven't had a problem with that, honestly. So I've had a chance to spend a few weekends recruiting with those guys. I know Coach McGuire shared that the one thing that was said a lot is that, hey, I don't have an ego. I'm totally comfortable in my abilities, but hey, I can be a team player as well. So I don't have to have guys feel uncomfortable around me about, hey, I should be this or I should be that. No, I'm gonna be a regular guy, do my part, and at the end of the day, we want to try to win as many games as possible. So that's the approach that I have, and it served me well all my career, and I'll continue to do that.
Yeah, and when you look at Joey McGuire, this coaching hire that we have here, for the football team. We look at his time, 2003 to 2016. He was the Cedar Hill High School head coach. Then went on 2017-18 to be the Baylor assistant coach for tight ends. 2019, Baylor's associate head coach and coach defensive ends. In 2020-2021, Baylor associate head coach outside linebackers. Having a longtime high school coach that went to Baylor and is now a first-time head coach in college football, what does that mean to you, and what do you kind of take away from his track record and obviously the fact that he spent more than a decade as a high school coach before jumping into college?
Well, the one thing, the overriding thing I've heard about Coach McGuire, especially a lot of my colleagues that recruited Texas high school over the years, they love Coach McGuire. When he was at Cedar Hill, he had a lot of success. And at the end of the day, football is football. How you relate to the players? Do the players trust you? Will they play for you? And those type of things. And he's always had that reputation that those kids play for him. In the state of Texas, he is so well respected that that's the one thing that I heard is like, hey, D, you're going to love working for this guy. He's energetic. The recruiting has been second to none since he's taken over. So you feel good about he's going to use those connections. And I would never dismiss anyone in this profession. I'm fortunate enough to be able to do it. I know there's a lot of coaches out there that are really, really good. And I'm thankful that I get a chance to do it for a living. So I totally expect he's going to have the same success that he had at Cedar Hill. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about the players. He's assembled a great staff, and we'll be able to go do our jobs. And a lot of times when you're a head coach, it is managing people and managing men. And so far, he's done a great job with that. He got the right pieces in place. And we'll go out and be able to do our jobs at a high level, and you'll see the success on the field.
DeAndre, whether it's a suit or it's Texas Tech gear, you dress very well. And when I look at the pictures of coaches in the staff directory of teams all over the country, I'm not saying this because we're friends. I don't think there's a more flyer coach when I look at these pictures with the gear on and the Texas Tech hat and just the poses, and you got the guns out, you're doing your thing. I'm looking at this going, I don't think anybody looks more like a rapper, like a Notorious B.I.G. album cover than my guy DeAndre Smith. Like, where does this swagger come from? And I'm telling you this, I know that I have looked at, and you see there's the picture of the coach with their hat on and they're pointing and somebody's blowing a whistle. Maybe someone's smiling at the camera, wearing a tie or whatever. You got pictures with the players looking at that with the shades on. You got the guns out. You're smiling. You're putting the Red Raider guns up. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, man, every time I see a picture of it's like people can know your personality from seeing a picture. So I'm going to ask you this. I know you're humble, but do you think of your poses beforehand? How did you become the flyest assistant coach in college football?
Oh, man, that's so funny. That's funny. Well, no, I don't think about poses at all. So I don't do that. But I will say, and it's probably true, I do have a reputation of guys that I've worked with that they would make some similar comment about how I dress, or what kind of shoes I have on, and what kind of hat I might have on. Now, full disclosure, I was best dressed when I was in high school, so I've always had an eye for fashion. I love fashion. It's interesting, Coach Q, I feel like when I was at Syracuse, the former women's basketball coach, Darren Q, I think I met my match when I seen him, when he would put some outfits together. I know you know that as well, seeing Q dress. So there's certain coaches out there. I know I'm not the only one, but there's coaches that probably spend a little bit more time putting outfits together than other coaches. But it's something I really do enjoy. Quite honestly, I feel better. I think it goes back to before I was a college coach. I sold insurance for 7 years, so I was a corporate America guy. So I had to go to work every day with a shirt and tie on. So it's just something I've always done, something I kind of do. And then when I have to put on my athletic gear, I try to put it together where it looks presentable. So I kind of, I've always been that way. I got all kind of nicknames from my fashion statements that I make. But my most recent one here at Texas Tech, our defensive coordinator, Coach Patterson, he always called me the Trunk Club. And he's like, hey, it's Trunk Club for coaches. So he's like, man, every time I see you, if I change a shoelace on some tennis shoes to match a red shirt, again, I probably think about it way too much. But it's not hard for me, to be honest with you. So I enjoy it. It's fun. It is part of my personality. So I'll continue to do that as long as I can. But it's funny that you say that.
And you know that my quick follow-up to that is, you tell me off the air that you think I'm fly, but I don't have no Texas Tech gear. So, am I going to be able to live a life like DeAndre,
Yes. Well, you will not go through 2022. And to make sure when you get your gear that you put it on Facebook, you make sure you let all the listeners and the viewers know I got my exclusive Coach DeAndre Smith Texas Tech gear. So it's coming. I know we talked off the air. You got all fit and slim and trim, so I had to make sure I had the right sizes and things like that. So we got that covered now. So gear is coming.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, because I know there's Texas Tech gear, but I know there's DeAndre Texas Tech gear.
Yes. I use guys. I'll have something that some coach on the staff does not have, and the first thing is like, hey, I didn't get that. And I'm usually, hey, man, they should have put that in your locker. So, yeah, I do have an inside track. I got some inside track on some gear that I might be able to get that. It's going to be exclusive.
DeAndre Smith, Texas Tech, Red Raiders running backs coach. DeAndre, I got to ask you the art of the running back. You have been successful everywhere at finding talent, developing talent, helping that talent onto the NFL. What is it? I'm not saying tell me your secret sauce, because I don't want anybody to know how you do what you do, completely how you do, because I want you to do it forever. But how do you consistently find this success? Because it's one thing, and Lester and I talked about this, it's one thing to stumble upon somebody, it's one thing to find a diamond in the rough, but to build consistent success, you have to be doing something right. And as I talked to Lester about too, I don't think being lucky is what people think it is. I think when people put the hard work in, when you work hard, when you put the time in, when you believe in yourself, when you're humble, when you have a faith, when you get after it, you challenge yourself all the time, you don't think you're the smartest person in the room. I think people that appear lucky are people that are actually doing the work and having some faith, trusting in God, and doing what they need to do. I think that luck, it's amazing how people that work really hard and do things the right way seem to always get more lucky. So how do you build success as a running backs coach? And more so, how do you build consistent success? Because you've been all over this planet, it feels like, and you have not had trouble either taking a player that's there and making them better when you get there, or going and finding somebody, recruiting them, and then making them good. You know how to do it. You've been able to do it and replicate it. So how do you do it?
Well, that's a great question. Two things with the recruiting part of it, there's certain tangible things I look at when you're recruiting running backs. And I like guys that can make people miss. That's always kind of been one of the things I would go to, the traits that I'm looking for. Then, how durable they are, durable they are. When they play a lot of football, and not necessarily, they don't have to carry the ball 50 times a game, but I look at durability. And then I always spend time, if I can see live evaluations, that helps. I can see how they move around. in practice and things like that. But and then I spend time. I build relationships with kids. I see if their personalities match my personality. I do coach my kids hard, so they understand that, but they know it comes from a place of love, and I just want to see them be successful. So so when you have those combination of things that you're looking for in a player, then I kind of have that formula. I think I know a guy like Coach Lester, when he's talking about quarterbacks, he can easily identify those kind of traits that kid has, and that you can probably say, hey, that kid is going to be successful in what we're doing. So so that's kind of how it's always been for me, in that formula. And then really when I take a job, the offense that we run, I think this past year Syracuse at Texas Tech, we I think we rushed for more yards than they've had in several years. Got a different running back that is leading the team, a kid, Tosh Brooks, who, to your point, I developed that relationship. I knew early on when I was recruiting him in high school, I said, that kid's going to be a really good football player. And sure enough, he turns out to be a really good football player. And the kid that I have there, that Sharajic, he'll be in the top 3 maybe in touchdowns scored in Texas Tech history, and he's had over at least 10 touchdowns every the 3 years I've been with him. So again, that kid had the right mindset. Obviously, he's talented, but you got to be able to develop kids as well as recruit them. You got to be able to develop them. So it's a little easier to coach kids when you can show them the Michael Turners of the world, the Garrett Wolves, or the Mike Hill Shores, and guys that I've coached and played at a high level. All conference players I've had. And just recently, Utah State, I had a kid, Darwin Thompson, that played 1 year out of JUCO and decided to leave early, and was a 6th-round draft pick and already won the Super Bowl already. So, but that ability to be able to, once you get them, develop them, coach them hard, teach them kind of the whole game. I've been fortunate. I really coach a lot of smart football players, and I coach guys that enjoy the game, and they want to soak up as much knowledge as possible and to get better. So I try to instill that. So it's a lot. I guess I gave you a long answer to it, but there's definitely some things over my career that I've used that is time tested and continues to have success. So I'm gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, and I think it's incredible. I mean, I know it's incredible that you seem to know how to discover this. And I mean, I think the art of it that I want to go into a little bit deeper off of what you just said is it's really hard for a coach, in my opinion, to go somewhere with somebody that they didn't recruit and try to build, especially if the player had been there a couple seasons. But, you come into these teams and you take non-household names and help to make them household names. How do you build a relationship when you're hired onto a staff and you come in and that player's been there for 1, 2, 3 years without you? How do you come in there, build that relationship, build that trust, and then get something out of them that maybe somebody else didn't? Because you seem to be somewhat of a running back whisperer in your ability to get through to people and get them to believe you and to trust you, because there's something to be said about the fact, DeAndre, that you get more out of some guys where somebody might have thought when they left that, hey, this tank is empty, we took everything we could, and then here you walk in and the guy's getting over 1,000 yards, he's improving his yards per carry, he's being more effective in his run blocking and the passing game. How do you do that? How do you build trust with a player that you didn't recruit, and how do you get more out of them that maybe another staff member didn't get out of that player?
Well, the one thing I always go in and I'll tell them whenever I take a job and I meet with the entire group is I just tell them, hey, I want to earn your trust. I don't have to give it to me. I have to go earn it. And I'll just show them, hey, that every day they're going to get a coach is going to outwork everybody to see them have success and develop into the player that they want to be. And I usually tell them that if they listen, if they buy in and they're committed, they're going to see the results. And it doesn't take a long time for them to actually see the results. And then once they have a little success, then they want more of it. And we just continue to do that. And I always share with my guys, and one thing I'm proud of in my career is I play multiple guys. This particular season, I basically played with 3 guys, and they were all different talents. They all do some things differently, but they're all really good at what they do. And to have the ability to play multiple guys and have them all have success is kind of cool for me. I always believe that when I'm in my position meeting room, I like to talk to multiple guys as opposed to that one guy that's a bell cow. My experience has been you don't need to be the guy that carries the ball every single snap to make it to the NFL. You can have a guy that shares carries and still have some treads on your tire still for the next level and you're not beat up. So I try to always play with more than one guy to keep those guys fresh. And, was evidenced in the Liberty Bowl game is that, one guy rushed for over 100, the other guy rushed for 80, and another one catch a few passes that, made some plays for us. And those guys all had success. And that's cool that I could do that. And when I recruit kids and I show when I'm bringing them in, we're watching film and they watching our guys do certain things, they'll see multiple guys doing it. So it makes it easier that way too when you're dealing with high school kids now. Everybody wants to be the guy, and you can show them, hey, you can still be the guy and you can still share time and you can still have the production that you want and the success that you want. And at the end of the day, when you do that, you're going to be fresh, a team is going to be better, and you'll be better as a player down the road. So I really, really try to earn that trust early on, show those guys the results, when they do trust me, and usually they buy in, and it has worked out really well for me.
That coming from DeAndre Smith, Texas Tech Red Raiders running backs coach this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, our first show of 2022, and here inside the Cafe Kubal Studios. D, before I let you go, we talked about so many different things, and I can appreciate the fact that we've opened so many doorways to conversations that I want to have for the future. The Liberty Bowl, the game that you just brought up, and the uniqueness that we've been talking about, kind of the coaching world and moving parts and pieces. Your head coach has let go. Joey McGuire's coming in. He said, like you had said, hey, I'm going to stay off to the side, let you kind of do your thing. And then you have coordinators move on. So you're overseeing practice. What was it like for you to take on a leadership role in that sense? And had you ever led a team to the extent that you did for this bowl game? And then bring me into the bowl game itself and just what it was like to go up against Mississippi State of the SEC and to get that victory and what it means for Texas Tech and the Big 12. So have you ever had the experience of rising to that level of leadership on a team? And then secondly, bring me into the game itself for Texas Tech getting a win in the Liberty Bowl.
Well, that was the first time I had a chance to do that. So it was exciting. I was fired up about the opportunity. I was appreciative of it. And, of course, as a coach, I've been doing it a long time. I've been associated with a lot of really good head coaches. So it was my small chance or opportunity to kind of put my spin on how I wanted to move the program forward in a very unusual kind of situation. I mean, it was definitely, we didn't have all the coaches there. There were some had already taken jobs, had to go finish up recruiting, and we had to be able to do practices and have that set up where we can still get work done with a limited staff. So it was some things that I thought were going to be beneficial for us that we needed to do to help us kind of build up and not get stale. That was the biggest thing. Was I didn't want those guys to get stale. We wanted the practice to be shorter, quicker, efficient. The kids bought into it. We did some things, meeting-wise, that was a little different than what they were used to, that I put my own spin on. And they seemed to buy in And I'm fortunate because my son is on the team too, so he can give me some immediate feedback on kind of how the players perceive things that I was doing, we were doing as a staff, and if they liked it or not. And it was all positive. And when you kind of know what we did to get to the bowl game, and then to watch us come out, the first opening drive of that Liberty Bowl game, I mean, I think Donovan threw one pass, it was a penalty, another pass was incomplete, and we just ran the ball down the field. And one of the things that we talked about, and that was kind of structured in practice, that we wanted to go fast. We wanted to go fast, and we've seen those things when you prepare for a team, and we had extra time to do it for our kids to kind of go out. And as we were prepping for the game, to then go out and execute it, I mean, it couldn't have been scripted any better. They were right on point. We were going fast. The other thing that in regards to the prep that we had, we hit 3 times. We put 4 pads on 3 times the whole time. So other than that, we're in helmets and jerseys. So the kids learned how to practice really fast without hurting each other. So we were super fresh. Again, we played fast, and we were still physical. We did enough that we on defense that they can tackle, so we didn't have any issues that way. And they went out and executed. So I got a chance to see from start to finish the preparation, and then go out during the game, the execution. And our kids had all the confidence in the world. We were excited. We talked about, the team that was the most excited team usually wins in bowl games. We were extremely excited. We all understood that every single coach came back except one, that we wanted to finish this journey that we said we were going to start when we wanted to have one more game after our last game, the Baylor game. And we went out and we did it. And like I said, it was one of the better times I've had as a coach, to see kids go out and believe in us as a coaching staff, and then go execute. And then the icing on the cake for me was, hey, my son was there. He helped lead. He did his part as a player. He was an MVP, so that was cool to kind of see. So it was a great night all the way around.
And DeAndre, you being a former quarterback yourself, your son Donovan, and we've spoken in the past about your family and knowing that football runs in the family. So look at Donovan. You and I spoke about Donovan a while back, and to now see him out there and to see what he's doing and the future at Texas Tech, just what it means. Your son in this game, 34-7, the win in the Liberty Bowl over Mississippi State, and Mike Leach of the SEC, 15-28, 252 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and then 5 carries for 30 yards, 6 yards a carry, and a touchdown on the ground. How did you assess Donovan's play, and what do you think about the bright future of your son at Texas Tech under center?
Yeah, he, game, as far as his performance in the game, obviously, he'll be the first one to tell you that, some throws that he could have made, better, and those type of things. But I thought one thing being around Donovan, and really all season, as we kind of gave him more and more reps, he always stays calm. He never gets too rattled. Even when there's a mistake, he'll usually correct it, and he did the same thing in the game. When some things they were doing pressure-wise, he missed a couple guys that would have been huge plays, but he came back and got it fixed. So I think from his performance standpoint, I think it was solid. You're dealing with a kid that until March of this past year, 2021, I know that people say he's a redshirt freshman. He was not able to do anything for an entire year because of the injury. So he never got a chance to lift a weight, throw a pass, and this is all happening in basically a 9-month period of being on a college campus. So the progress that he's made in that short period of time is tremendous, and his future is going to be extremely bright. He's a kid does not like the limelight. He kind of likes to just move in silence. That's kind of his deal. Matter of fact, we'll get up here and we'll work out a little bit with his older brother, catch some passes, and throw and get a lift in. So he's a humble kid, and I like his leadership skills. He has those intangibles that you like from a quarterback standpoint, and I think as long as he keeps progressing, he's going to be a handful. There's no doubt about it.
You know, and like, you know, like you said, you have kind of this unique when Donovan wants to come out and throw and get some work in, that his older brother Ryan, who played at Duke and played receiver and played on special teams, that he can go catch passes. What is it like for you as a dad to have a son who played D1 as a receiver and on special teams, and a son who's currently playing D1 as a quarterback, and that when you want to work them out, that they can literally work each other out and make each other better? That dynamic is such a rare thing to be like, oh, I'm a coach, my son's a quarterback, my other son was a receiver, so we're going to go get this work in on the hill. Bring me into what that experience is like for you, and if you really take a deep breath in those moments and take it all in.
Well, it's definitely rare. There's no question about it, and I'll get that from a couple coaches. Like, hey, man, you just don't see D1 athletes, come out of the same family. So I understand how rare that is, and it's cool. I mean, it's cool because when we, like today, when we decide we want to go out and work, that for Donovan, he can get true timing from running an out route or over route with Ryan. He's still really active, so he enjoys it. It gives him the chance to catch a ball from his little brother, and he feels like, hey, if I can do something that'll help him keep being better as a quarterback, he wants to do it as well. So it helps that Ryan is still active, that he still enjoys it, and Donovan is one of those kids that, hey, I know I can get better, and while some guys might be sitting around, Donovan basically is giving himself 5 days off and say it's time to go to work. So I'm kind of excited about today, just kind of watch him move around. I'll go out, I can't run like I used to, but I can still sling it. So I'll let them know every now and again if I need to throw a deep ball and things like that, I'll do it as well to kind of help Donovan out. But it's a cool experience. I get a chance to share with both of my boys.
Yeah, and for you to have that experience as a quarterback, how does a successful quarterback who did what you did in college and then went on and played professionally, what you did at Southwest Missouri State, and then went on to the Calgary Stampeders of the CFL, the Canadian Football League, and then went to France, how does such a successful quarterback become such a successful running backs coach?
Well, it's one of those deals where I initially started off as a quarterback coach, and my first 2 years when I got into coaching, and then I was fortunate enough to coach running backs at Northern Illinois with Coach Novak, and I had those great players, Michael Turner, actually Thomas Hammock, who's the head coach there now, was a really, really good football player there. And once that success happened, it was kind of over for me. I've always tried to get back to coach quarterbacks, but it just hasn't worked out for me yet. But it's one of those deals where I was a runner as a quarterback. So coaching running backs and vision and things like that and understanding the game, there's a lot of things that running backs can really take advantage of if you kind of get taught protections the right way, what quarterbacks are looking for in the run game, in the passing game. And I do have the ability when we're talking about making certain cuts and reads and things like that, because that was so natural for me. That transition was totally easy for me to coach the running backs. And at the end of the day, guys being physical, I can talk to them about that, not that quote traditional where some quarterbacks don't like to get hit or they don't get hit, because I did run a lot as a quarterback, taking hits and being physical and showing toughness. That was all about my game. So that part transitioned to running back, it made it really easy for me, actually.
That coming from DeAndre Smith. DeAndre, final couple points here in expanded time on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. here where sports meets life inside the Cafe Kubal studios. We're here with the running back coach of Texas Tech, fresh off their victory in the Liberty Bowl. Do you have an aspiration? I know you said, you're coaching running backs and, looking to coach quarterbacks again. Getting the responsibility that you got for this Liberty Bowl game and being able to rise into more of a prominent leadership role, did that give you sights of being a head coach, and do you have thoughts of being a head coach someday?
Oh, yeah. That's definitely the end goal for me whenever that opportunity presents itself. So, yeah, that's something that I definitely want to do. I totally believe that I'm ready for that opportunity. So when that opportunity comes, I'll be ready for it. But, yeah, absolutely. Before having the chance to kind of be put in that role doing bowl prep, I've always felt like I was ready to do it. I always felt that I am a leader of men, that I could do that, and that's basically what you got to be able to do as a head coach, is to be able to do that. And I'm more than capable of doing it. So when the opportunity happens, I'll be ready for it, and I'm looking for that opportunity when it does happen.
And for you, a big picture here to stay with, kind of looking at what's out there. The Big 12, we know that realignment was struck once again in such a big way when Oklahoma and Texas made the announcement that they're going to the SEC to give the SEC 16 schools. You know what it's like to be in the Big 12. The irony, the Big 12 has 10 teams. Well, now they will actually have 12 as you went down to 8 with Oklahoma State, Baylor, Iowa State, Kansas State, West Virginia, TCU, Kansas, and yourselves at Texas Tech. And now bringing in 3 schools I know very well from covering them their entire time in the American with UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati. Cincinnati fresh off a berth in the College Football Playoff, and then BYU, who's coming out of being independent to join the Big 12. What are your thoughts on the realignment that's affecting you directly, knowing that Oklahoma and Texas are moving forward, and now you're bringing in 3 schools from the American, UCF and Cincinnati, that have had huge success in recent years, Houston, who is having more success trying to trend upward with Dana Holgerson, and then BYU, who has been one of the best independent schools in the history of mankind. What do you think about realignment and the fact that you're in a conference that it directly has affected?
Oh, I'm excited about it. It's one thing about change and growing up, kind of watching how the Big 8, the Big 12, and how that used to be, and these realignments happening over the course of my lifetime is exciting. Those 3 programs that you mentioned, the conference itself is going to be fine. There's not going to be any drop off. I know you lose those 2 huge programs, those blue blood kind of programs and those brands, but you have an opportunity with the Cincinnatis of the world and UCF and BYU. Those are strong brands as well. So the conference is in great shape. We're gonna be able to compete for national championships in our conference. There's no question about it, and it's exciting to kind of see what the transition is going to be like. The level of competition. We did play against Houston last year. We'll get a chance to play against them this season coming up. They're a great program. You mentioned Dana. He's coached at a high level as well. So the conference is in great shape. It's exciting, to kind of move forward with this and get a chance to compete at that level with those new teams is going to be good for everybody.
Do you feel a loss being at Texas Tech with Texas leaving? Does that kind of feel some kind of way when you are a school in Texas having another Texas team that has such a prominent history leaving the conference?
Yeah, of course, it's a great rivalry. Being at Texas Tech, I didn't understand it until I got there, on how big that rivalry is. So you will miss that for sure. And I would think the powers that be, they'll probably try to find a way, if they could, to schedule a game, a non-conference game like that down the road, because it is so huge for the state. But yeah, you'll miss that. I do miss compete. I'll miss competing against those guys. I don't know exactly when they'll be in the SEC. I do know we'll have an opportunity to play against them this year. So we want to make sure that before they get out of here, we'll have some fun in that competition, and hopefully the Red Raiders come out on top.
And coming from DeAndre Smith. DeAndre, I don't know if you know this, but this is my first official show of 2022, and I chose you and Tim Lester to ring in the new year. So I just want you to know that this was very important to me to make sure that you were a part of this first show of 2022. You'll go down in history for it, and I thank you so much for being a part of it.
Well, I feel honored, that you thought of me to participate today. So that is really, really cool. And I actually be able to be on the show with Coach Lester. He's my guy. So, no, man, I really appreciate the opportunity to, visit with you. It's always good to hear your voice. I know you're going to do huge things in 2022, man. So I'm proud of you. And, of course, if you need anything from me, all you got to do is give me a shout.
And coming from DeAndre, I wanted to be a running back when I was growing up. I should have met you sooner. That's all I know.
Hey, man, I could have got you going, right? For sure. So, yeah. Oh, well, maybe another time. You get some little D's running around, and I'll make sure I'll be able to coach him up.
That's fair enough. DeAndre Smith, Texas Tech running backs coach, and to me, they got a steal. D, you and I will be in touch. We owe each other we owe each other a face-to-face chat for sure, but we owe each other an off-the-air chat. So I know we tried to do that, and we will definitely get that done. And in the meantime, God bless to you and your family, and thank you for being the person that you've been in my life. Thank you for your friendship, and it makes you feel good when the good ones are winning.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate it. Love you, man. Talk to you. Be careful out there.
All right, man. I love you too. Take care of yourself.
All right.
See ya. That coming from DeAndre Smith one more time here, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're going to take our final step aside of our first show of 2022. I set the bar so high today because of these awesome people that where will we go the rest of the week? Well, I guess you're going to have to find out. With that being said, we'll take a step aside inside of the Cafe Cubal studios to hear from our great partners one more time, and we'll wrap things up right after this in our first broadcast of 2022.
Cafe Cubal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecubal.com. Cafe Cubal, coffee for the soul.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond. You can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Here at Progressive Dental, we understand the importance of regular dental visits and preventive care. Cleanings and checkups are essential to good oral health. We have multiple locations in the Southern Tier, so come visit us in Binghamton, Enwell, Kirkwood, Montrose, and Norwich. For self-pay non-insured patients, we offer the Smile Plan, which covers all of your cleanings, x-rays, and exams for an affordable yearly price. Call 607-754-2273 or 607-754-CARE to make an appointment today. For more information, visit our website at progressivedentalny.com.
The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you make your way out to the Millhouse Market every Tuesday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sundays from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. to enjoy their general store, their indoor dining, and their drive-up, drive-through window. You can grab your food and go at the Millhouse Market, socially distanced. You can pay on the app, contactless pay, tip on the app, and have everything set and ready to go. They are prepared for our unique times, and I appreciate the Millhouse Market for all that they do to make sure that we are safe, that we are together, and that we have flavors that we won't find anywhere else. The Millhouse Market, from their homemade breads and desserts to quinoa bowls, rice bowls, brick oven pizzas, salads, and sandwiches named after the families that helped to settle today's Pulaski. They are ingrained in our community, ingrained in our taste buds, and right at our fingertips. The Millhouse Market app is available for download on the Google Play or Apple App Store. Download it today. Pick your favorite, and I challenge you to not oust that favorite with another favorite the next time you order, because the Millhouse Market has so much that you have to grab something for today and make sure you get something else for later on that day or later on in the week. Millhouse Market, the perfect place to get a gift for someone you care about, and the perfect place to dine in and enjoy one of your favorites while you're finding a new favorite. 36. Make sure you make your way out there. 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. The Millhouse Market, worth the drive every time. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank you for watching and listening on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, and for listening worldwide on live radio, streaming radio on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.com. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora also proudly brings you our archives on Stitcher, Spotify, MixLR, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, on any one of these outlets, and you'll be able to find our shows right there for you for free all day, every day. And a big thanks to our Central and Upstate New York partners that we come into the new year with: Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Mon Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Progressive Dental, Avicoli's Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, the Millhouse Market, Lemoyne Dolphins, Honda City of Liverpool, PB&J's Lunchbox, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, and Mother's Cupboard. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora also in 2021 made history not once but twice with our multimedia marketing partnership portion of Dan Tortora Broadcast Media and Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, a huge part of our show that will only grow exponentially as we move on here in 2022 and beyond with our multimedia marketing partnerships with colleges and universities from around the country and potentially one day around the world, as we're proud to say we are the multimedia marketing partner and first ever of Lemoyne College. Lemoyne is here with us every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for Dolphin Time. You can set the dial and be ready on MixLR, Facebook, YouTube, and more by being with us every single Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And that is every first and third Wednesday going to bring you AD and DT new episodes with Athletics Director of Lemoyne, Bob Beretta, and myself, Dan Tortora. And every second and fourth Wednesday, we're bringing you Dolphin Dive, where we dive into the stories of student athletes, coaches, and staff members at Lemoyne on why they chose Lemoyne and what it means to them. Very excited for all that we bring you every single month with the Dolphins, with AD and DT, as well as Dolphin Dive. Those episodes switching every other week with one another. Every Wednesday at 9 a.m. is Dolphin Time on Wake Up Call, as well as specials throughout the month as well, there with Lemoyne College. You can find out more by subscribing to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, to have our entire archive. Our Lemoyne page on wakeupcalldt.com. You can bookmark and subscribe to that. And, of course, you can hang out with us on LeMoyneDolphins.com at all times. And if you scroll to the bottom, our Wake Up Call logo is right there. So LeMoyneDolphins.com will bring you back to Wake Up Call, and WakeUpCallDT.com will bring you to the Lemoyne Dolphins page if you go ahead and click on their logo on our site as well. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the proud multimedia marketing partner of your Marywood University Pacers. Making history with Marywood University, as well as their first multimedia marketing partner ever in the history of the university. My alma mater and I get to connect Fridays to round out the shows with our Marywood University Pacer-centric broadcast entitled Pacer Pride, because it's all about Pacer Pride. That's the hashtag. That's how I feel, and that's what we bring you, with exclusive content that puts Marywood University on the map and more consistently broadcasted around the world than ever before. Marywood University's Executive Director of Athletics, Pat Murphy, as well as their student athletes and coaches, join Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora here every single month, that you will find exclusively on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can find the archive by subscribing to our YouTube channel on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. And of course, you can find them in our Marywood tab on wakeupcalldt.com, and more information at marywoodpacers.com itself. So, with that being said, this has been your welcome to 2022. I am honored and privileged to have this moment to officially say that this is show number 1 of 2022, and that I got to make history, that my first 2 guests are 2 good friends that have stayed loyal to me wherever they've gone and whatever they've done. From the day that we met to where we are today, we haven't lost touch. No matter how many miles separate us, they have stayed connected to me and I to them, and that to me is a sign of true friendship and 2 people that I want to know forever. Tim Lester, your Western Michigan Broncos head football coach, and DeAndre Smith, your Texas Tech Red Raiders running backs coach. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, DeAndre, for being a part of history and helping me to usher in Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora to the year 2022. It's only getting better from here. Cafe Cubal Studios, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find us on the socials. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. Of course, on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, as I had stated before, and on wakeupcalldt.com. God bless, no stress, do your best, and welcome to the year 2022. Big things.